It's amazing the opportunities for education and really spreading the word on that. In person, that can be really important, and then also online through Sports Dentistry podcasts and important forums like that as well. But it's great to have you on site here. Having expert sports dentists on site to spring to the rescue or to take proactive care of players is incredibly valuable to us. So it's great that John and yourself are able to join us, so thank you.
So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to the Sports Dentistry podcast Dr. Andy Murray. Andy is the Chief Medical Officer of the PGA European Tour.
DP World Tour
and
Tour. Various other professional golf organisations.
Great. And we're here, I'm with two Scotsmen, but we're not in Scotland. We're here in the lovely Dubai in the sun. So give us a little bit of a background, Andy. First of all, how you got into sports medicine and then what led you into working with golfers.
Well, thanks, John, and thanks to you and Umi for having me on the Sports Dentistry podcast. It's something that is really important as a sport and exercise medicine doctor, and I'm learning a lot from the likes of yourselves and from Ian Needleman and various others. And I initially got into sport and exercise medicine by chance, really. I ran from John O'Groats to the Sahara Desert, which is about 4,300 kilometres, and got asked by our Chief Medical Officer and Minister for Public Health at the time to come and do some promotion about the health benefits of sport and about the health benefits of physical activity. Well, and we know that...
What gave you the urge to do that run in the first place? Was that just like a target you set yourself, something you wanted to achieve?
There were three reasons. The first is I did want to raise awareness of the health benefits of exercise. The second thing is I really wanted to also raise a lot of money for a charity I was passionate about, the Yama Trust in Outer Mongolia. And the third thing is I wanted to avoid as much wedding planning as possible. I was due to get married immediately after finishing.
Okay.
So I finished, had a stag do, and then got married the week after.
And the wedding still went ahead because you cleared off.
Exactly.
And then that led into the conversation about down the road of sports medicine.
That's right. So I worked as the government's first physical activity champion because it always baffled me that people know about how bad smoking and alcohol are for you, but physical inactivity killed 5 million people per year, and actually being physically active is one of the best things that you can do for your health. It adds 7 years to life. It also is very good for productivity, whether that's better marks at school or being more productive in your day-to-day work. As doctors or dentists, I think it's important to us. It's also good for mental health, so decreased risks of anxiety, depression, dementia. It can put a big smile on your face. And from a physical health perspective, you are more likely to get athlete's foot, but you are 30% less likely to die early, somewhere between 30 and 40% less likely to get type 2 diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, various types of cancer. So overall, I think it's something that was worth promoting, and we were able to do that working with the government and various others as well.
Yeah, and I think if there's somebody on this planet who could talk about physical activity, it's you, with all the running and ultra marathons that you've done. I've had the pleasure to meet you a good few years ago, and you were very instrumental in getting us dentists as part of your medical team back in Scotland, and for that we are grateful. And your colleagues like Ali Nicholl and James Robinson have been very, very good to us. And John's quite jealous in Ireland that we've got such a good network and a good infrastructure in Scotland with regards to dentistry. But if we can just touch on your ultramarathon running and how you fueled that. So if you can get to a little bit deeper in terms of how did you keep yourself hydrated, how did you keep yourself fed, what sort of things were you intaking, and did you have any conscious effort in your mind about, is this affecting your oral health at all?
I think for your first point, Umi, then it is, I think, really important that sports and exercise medicine recognises the value of oral health. And it's something I didn't really do adequately when I was running myself, but I recognise, having spoken to yourself and to various other colleagues, how important it is. So thanks for doing us all a favour and being so open, so up for helping, and then also just with the clarity of the education that you provide as well through things like the Sports Dentistry podcast, but in terms of small group education for both athletes and for our practitioners as well. And I guess it's no surprise that if you are running 60 odd K per day for 2.5 months at a time, then you're having to eat a lot of food. So I ate about 8,000 calories per day.
Wow.
which is enough for a 700 kilogram anaconda or enough for 3 humans.
Oh my goodness.
And it was as much an eating competition as it was a running comp. I can run, but I was struggling with the eating element of it. So you're having to force down a lot in terms of good quality protein to help repair muscles, good quality fats as well, just to make sure that the system is in harmony. But there was a lot of both short acting and long acting carbohydrates, and you're having to eat often because otherwise you'll hit the wall, and that's not a great place to be. So I think, there was that, but then also I've ran about 400 marathons.
Yeah.
And for those, you need to fuel them. So there's always the balance between the benefits you get from that and the excitement and the enjoyment that gives you. But your teeth are in a better state of mind.
Those numbers are crazy. 400 marathons. Yeah. I'm thinking I can't even do one because my ankles can't take it. But Andy, that's incredible numbers. And just before John comes in with the question, one of our other Scottish colleagues, Mark Beaumont, obviously did the cycle around the world, and he talks about in his documentary about eating and being fueled. So it's really interesting to hear people like yourself and like Mark talk about how they have to just force the food down regardless of what it is to an extent, and you're looking at carbohydrates and fats, and I suppose our job is to see where we can help be an adjunct and not necessarily say you cannot do this, you cannot do that, but it's actually being able to structure it in such a way where we can minimise the impact it can have on oral health but yet still fuel performance.
Which is perfect. So on that, can you give the listeners 3 top tips for endurance athletes like Mark or other people out there?
Yeah, so I think number one thing is, we have to work with the nutritionist in terms of what it is that you're eating and how much you're eating, but also to counterbalance that, we can do simple things like fluoride, which is fluoride mouthwash, or maybe a higher fluoride toothpaste that we can use intermittently while you're performing or while you're training at that level. The other things that we need to look at is fermentable carbohydrates and not how much you're having of it. So I don't mind if you had a packet of Haribos, a big massive size, in one sitting, but I'd rather you did it in one sitting rather than have 4 or 5 of them and then wait half an hour and have more. But we also need to understand that you need the regular carbohydrate intake. So I think that's where we need to discuss, okay, where's the pros and cons and how are we able to then counterbalance the carbohydrates that are coming in and how we can neutralise it to a degree. And I think the third thing is just being more aware of that. For you to be able to masticate, you need to have teeth, right? So you need to be able to be in a position where before you undertake these big challenges, you need to make sure that your oral health is at a level where you are able to put your body through that and your teeth through that. So having them checked and making sure there's no underlying disease that could potentially trigger and interfere with training or competing. So for example, when you were doing your marathons, ultra marathons, if you had toothache and you weren't able to sleep or you would eat, that would then deter everything else that came after that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a balance because you don't really want to not fuel for your sport. We had a good conversation we just spoke about him, David Dunn, at our last one, and we asked him similar questions, and he said a good idea would maybe to work with the manufacturers of these supplements and look at, yes, there's maybe high carbohydrates, can we make sure they're like low in pH so they're not also acidic, which is giving a double whammy, and maybe working with the manufacturers of these supplement areas or the people that are providing the fueling for you to look at smart ways in which you're still getting the fuel that you need, but it's maybe not doing the same amount of damage to your teeth at the same time.
I think that's a great idea, because the practicalities of it are that athletes are always going to try and get results first and then think of other things second. And if I ran a 100k race, then I'm going to have 17 gels, and that's what is going to get me to the finish line fastest. So I think that's basically a gel every 20 minutes, which is obviously the absolute enemy of what sports dentistry is.
We spoke about how your mouth takes 20 minutes to recover from sugar to get to a pH level that's protective, and then you're topping that back up again and keeping that pH low. A couple of questions. Just first of all, quite interesting, where did the passion for long distance running and ultra running come from? Where did it start?
I guess I just really like to see the world, so I find that you can actually see things faster if you're running. And you can see things in a fair bit of detail rather than if you're cycling or if you're in a bus and stuff, then you do get to see a bit. But I think it's a nice way of seeing the world in different ways, and I've been lucky to race at the North Pole, Antarctica, various jungles, across various deserts, so it really offered me an opportunity to travel. I think the other thing is that I actually will play pretty much any sport that I have the opportunity to. So it's just one of the things that I enjoy doing. But I just happened to not be very good at most of the others. I really enjoyed them, but I was just slightly better at running. Not fast, but I can keep going for a bit. So, because I like it, and because it gives you, I think, a sense of challenge, and also an ability to travel, which I think you can have in sports dentistry and sports medicine as well. So I now get that through looking after.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting here in Dubai, so we're all getting travel out of our passion for sports medicine, sports dentistry. Another thing I just wanted to touch on, there was a bit of a craze for carbohydrate rinsing. Did you do that, or is that something that's do you find that's still a common practice for long distance athletes?
It is common practice. It wasn't something I particularly did myself. I would just actually eat, but it's definitely something you see a lot of people talking about, particularly in endurance sport.
Yeah. In sports dentistry, it's not just about treating injuries. It's about optimizing oral health for peak performance.
That's right, because when athletes push their limits, every detail matters, even their oral health.
That's why the Sports Dentistry podcast is being powered by Philips, true innovators in oral health technology.
Philips Sonicare toothbrushes use advanced sonic technology to disrupt plaque biofilm, removing up to 20 times more plaque than a manual brush.
And that's critical for athletes. With high carb diets, dry mouth, and frequent energy supplements, there are greater risk of caries and gum disease.
Philips backs evidence-based dentistry, giving us tools that fit perfectly into performance-driven treatment plans.
So whether you're helping your athletes recover, protect, or perform,
elevate your protocol with Philips. That leads us on quite nicely in terms of your role as CMO with DP World Tour. Can you just give the listeners and the people watching a bit of an insight what your role actually looks like? So on a day-to-day basis, so during this tournament here, just talk us through what that looks like from your point of view, but also from the medical team's point of view. What sort of things do you need to deal with? Because we're quite interested to know what it is exactly that your role is.
I love working in golf, so we support the RNA, who are the global governing body, the DP World Tour, the males professional tour, the ladies European Tour, which is the female professional tour, and then different tiers throughout that sort of ecosystem as well. And essentially what we're supporting them with is A, strategy, so where are we now, where are we looking to get to? B, research and development, how can we try and evolve knowledge so we know more and promote the health benefits of golf, but can also just make sure that we're preventing and treating illness and injury, we're maximising high performance, we're doing research specific to other groups, for example those with the disability or the female athlete or the older athlete, because 90% of research has previously been done in males and that's not appropriate. And the other thing is assisting with commercial discussions and commercial relationships. So I work in those roles in golf. I also really enjoy working with the University of Edinburgh. We have one of the IOC research centres there, so I'll see patients, also help with the research and development, and then just look for wider opportunities. And I think it's the variety that I enjoy. But my job really is to try and ensure that we've got great colleagues, which we have, and then just support them to do their job.
What sort of support would a golfer need from a sports medicine? What, compared to other sports, what would you see more with supporting golfers?
So the typical golfer is their own chief executive rather than necessarily being managed by a team. And if you're from Northern Ireland, for example, then we've got the likes of Rory McIlroy playing this week, and Rory will have a fairly extensive team, which would include the team that he's at home with and then the team that he would use when he was on the road. The tour will provide sport and exercise medicine physicians, physiotherapists, osteopaths, strength and conditioning coaches, nutritionists, and colleagues like that this week. And then intermittently, and at a lot of events, we'll also have recovery centres. We'll have mental health and well-being, skin screening, heart health assessment, dentistry support, orthopaedic colleagues, musculoskeletal radiologies. It's almost like a mini hospital that we have in the vans that we'd have travelling around with us. We've got 2 articulated trucks and smaller units that sometimes travel with us. And Rory may use his own staff when he's at home. He'll use predominantly tour staff when he's out on tour, so he'd have a strength and conditioning coach with him. He'd use our physios, our sports medicine physicians, our nutritionists, and the various other services that are here, but we're not here to tell athletes what to do. We're to provide them with the support that they need and dovetail with any other support that they've got around with them. Mental fitness is a big thing as well, so you may well see a mental fitness coach as well as a physical fitness coach, because no one doesn't think that you don't need technical skills to drive a golf ball well, but you also need strength and power as well as mental resilience and mental fortitude as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And Rory's actually a good example, because I think many years ago he did suffer from toothache during a tournament one time, so it'll be quite interesting to hear his story on that sometime.
Yeah, and we do see it. If you think that we've got 194 events that we cover globally and more than 700 athletes that we look after regularly, it's imperative that we ask them to make sure they're taking care of their oral health, checking with the dentist twice per year, making sure that they're getting their eyes checked as well as the more traditional stuff that we know they go through in terms of pre-season screening, mid-season screening. We'll always, for example, we had Jose Navarro down at Wentworth prior to the Ryder Cup, just making sure that any dental issues were taken care of prior to travel. Because we have had issues before at Open Championships or at Ryder Cup that someone feels if they can't be at their best because they have got an abscess or have got a cracked tooth or some other bad thing that's affected them.
Yeah. So with the golfers, it's slightly different than some of the other sports where they do a lot of travel. Do you find that the travelling has a lot of an impact on their health or their general health and their preparation?
Travelling an average of 30 to 36 weeks a year is really demanding in terms of consistency and also family time. So the thing that the golfers will typically find the most difficult is actually so much time away from friends and family. So the younger guys that have got no kids, it's a different situation than if you already have family. And for the Ladies European Tour and for the LPGA, generally the players are actually younger, and I think part of that might be because of the impact on being away from family so much. And I think also it can affect consistency of healthcare. If something crops up, you're not necessarily seeing John in Dublin because you're there, or Umi in Edinburgh, but you're relying upon local services, and sometimes your schedule changes depending on which events you get into, etc. So I think that it's demanding psychologically from being away from your family so much and your friends, because there are friends on tour, but they're also your competitors, and also they're not the people that you've grown up with necessarily. But then also in terms of just having consistency of care and making sure that you get in for your 6-month checkups or your eye checks and stuff on a yearly type basis, it just makes the planning of those far more difficult. And that's why we'll often provide a bit of things at tournaments, just to make things as easy as possible for the players.
And do you find a support staff as well with the travelling and stuff that has that impact? Because that's something that people don't think about either.
Many of our support staff are, in fact all of them are, unbelievably dedicated to their craft. Generally they love doing it, but being away from home can seem like fun when you're out in a place like this in Dubai, but doing it so often is difficult when you're missing kids' birthdays and when you're missing other important milestones as well. I don't travel as much as many of my colleagues, but my youngest was very ill for a period of time, and I found that really difficult. It's just not being able to do my job while I was at home, because he was in intensive care for 3 months, but also because when I did get back out, there was always something in the back of my mind that was worried about the impact on Sonny's sisters and on my wife Jenny, and it's the travel element is really difficult.
Yeah, sounds very difficult. I'm sure that was really hard at the time as well, and hopefully everything's come through okay and everything's going well. But it does show you that a side that you don't think about, that people that maybe are, as you say, quite young, don't have the same sort of commitments and are looking to get in to these types of roles to support athletes. It's maybe that side of things that they don't realise is the demands and the challenges, and especially the time away from where you maybe want to be.
It can be an amazing benefit, but it can also be really difficult as well, for sure. And I think people can be made aware of it and just think about doing it for a period of time can be really exciting, particularly when you don't have kids. But I think that's where you will see a lot of people move away from the travel demands of professional sport and move back into a more settled practice closer to their friends and family as well.
We are delighted to have Ionate as a sponsor for the Sports Dentistry podcast. Are you looking for a water bottle that's built to keep up with your active lifestyle? Look no further than Ionate, the totally leak-proof water bottles with triple lock technology to prevent spills no matter where you're headed. With a simple one-touch opening mechanism, you can sip on the go without hassle. Plus, Ionate's sleek, modern designs are not only functional but can be personalised just for you. Made from high-quality steel, these bottles are easy to clean and, best of all, they're sustainable. From 320ml to 1200ml, Ionate has the perfect size for you, whether you're just out for a jog or going on a long hike. And it doesn't stop at water bottles. Ionate also has travel mugs and flasks to keep your drinks just right wherever you are. Ionate is the official water bottle supplier to the British and Irish Lions on their tour to Australia this summer, and are the official water bottle supplier to the NFL, so you know you're getting the best. I have been using their bottles for a long time now and cannot recommend them highly enough. So head over to www.ionate.co.uk to get your hands on the best bottles in the business, bar none. Now back to the pod. It's really funny you should say that, because in the last 6 or 8 weeks we've travelled abroad to Dusseldorf to do the European Association for Sports Dentistry, to Cape Town to do the South Africa Sports Dentistry. Now we're in lovely Dubai, at Dubai Golf Creek golf course with yourself, Andy, and you know, it's been away from the family, and my daughter, my wife wasn't well last year as well. So what we're trying to do is, yes, we are managing to get ourselves out there, but we're doing it to try and spread the word. And a really good term that I've used before is you want to leave the shirt in a better place than when you got it. And hopefully when our time comes where we take a step back, whoever takes over at that point will be able to take it further. But we need to make these commitments, and we need to make these travel arrangements and put ourselves out there, and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you know, connecting with people and like-minded people who are willing to give us airtime and willing to speak to us like yourself. And it takes people like you, and we are grateful for you and your medical colleagues, and for taking the time out of your busy schedule here to chat, you know, and we really appreciate that. And I suppose to kind of round things off is, from a sports dentistry point of view, by putting your medical hat on, where do you see that amalgamation going? Where do you see that relationship going? Where do you see that partnership going over the coming years?
I think it's amazing, the opportunities for education and really spreading the word on that. In person, that can be really important, and then also online through Sports Dentistry podcasts and important forums like that as well. But it's great to have you on site here. Having expert sports dentists on site to spring to the rescue or to take proactive care of players is incredibly valuable to us. So it's great that John and yourself are able to join us, so thank you.
Thanks very much, Andy.
And I think that the evidence is really consistent and growing that sports dentistry should be an integral part of the wider care of athletes, or also for population health. We take good care of our cars. We need to get them MOT'd every year. I feel as if I need to get my teeth MOT'd every year or every 6 months, and make sure that things are well looked after. And again, it's that proactive approach. It's thinking, what can we do in advance to make sure that we're actually taking care of people's health, but also not impacting the performance of people, whether that's people that are wanting to be at the top like Rory McIlroy or Tommy Fleetwood, or it's people just taking a shot off their score. You don't want things to distract you, and you want your teeth to be in as good condition as possible for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. But I think also, you know, there's specific groups like endurance athletes with the carbohydrate demands, or contact and collision sports with the integrated mouth guards, making an impact on concussion, making an impact on what results are. You know, if you've got a well-fitting mouth guard that doesn't cause any issues with your breathing, that can also just help give you the comfort and confidence that you can get on with rugby or whatever sport it is, it's a massive blessing. So I think that the sports dentistry community hopefully feel that they're an integral part of what we're looking to achieve for the elite athletes, but also for the general population that likes to exercise as well, because fortunately more than 50% of the world's population like to play sport. Mm-hmm.
And like the word you used there was integral, and I think that's something where we continue to strive to become an integral part and become a valued member of the medical staff. And again, very lucky in Scotland that that's been there for many years on the back of James and back of Fiona's relationship that they had. But now John's getting involved with Ulster and with Irish Rugby. But it all comes down to people like yourself, Andy. I've said it, and I'm not going to apologise for it again. But thank you for allowing us to come here and spend some time with you, and give the listeners a really good indication about what it is that you do and your role with being the CMO of the European or DP World Tour. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks for your support of the DP World Tour and Ladies Tour as well.
Thanks very much, Andy.
No, thanks very much. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
So we made it out to Dubai. Umar, overnight flight. We've got to get rid of these overnight flights.
Yeah.
But if we're flying out to Dubai and we're sitting on the golf course at midday, it's worth it.
It's worth it. And we've got the first tee over there, got the 10th tee over here, and as we
just behind there.
And as we arrived, Tommy Fleetwood was just teeing off the 10th tee there. And sometimes we just got to pinch ourselves, and we've said this before, but this time last year we had not even started this podcast yet, and in the last 6 weeks we've done Dusseldorf, Cape Town, now we're in Dubai at the Dubai Creek Golf Club. Pinch me.
And we were coming to Dubai because we're here for the EDA conference, which is, and we've seen the signs earlier, the biggest annual conference out there, and we walked around some of the rooms, and it is going to be a massive conference, so
yep.
We're looking forward to the next 3 days. But we think with Sports Dentistry podcast we've got to get some sport, and I was a little bit worried. Dubai in my mind doesn't scream sport to me, but we've lined up some great sport, and we're here at the final day of the Dubai Invitational Golf Classic, and we've also got the Rugby Sevens this weekend as well. So Dubai's providing us with the sport.
I think we're just lucky again, aren't we? Just that we're here where there's the golf on and then there's the rugby on, and as you said, we've got some really, really good guests coming up, and some really high profile guests who are taking time out of their busy schedule to speak to us, and the importance of sports dentistry and what we're trying to do with the podcast and what we're trying to do with the associations that are coming up all over the world. And it's one of these things where we always talk about luck, and things happen for a reason. And if you don't ask, you don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable. All these one-liners that we come with, and it accumulates and amalgamates to this moment in time. A lot of the things and pieces of the jigsaw had to come together, and we are grateful to ADEC for inviting us out here to cover their conference over the next 3 days. And there will be a lot of stuff going on with regards to that conference, and the guests and the speakers and the individuals that we're going to try and get on. So I think now is a good opportunity for us to get out into the golf course, maybe go and see where Rory, Tommy and Shane are. I'm using their first names, no idea why, because I've never met them. But it's a lovely day, the sun is out, John, and we should go and enjoy ourselves, and welcome to Dubai.
Definitely. Stay tuned.